in a Beckett play. Now you may ask, well, what is a prop? It is simply an object used on screen to help the actors tell a story. It is something, it can be anything from weapons to furniture to food or jewelry. And the term is short for property. I didn't know this until I did a little research, which is a theatrical term that means any inanimate object that tells the story of your production. Now, I'm not sure how I got so big into props many years ago. A lot of people do not use them. I will tell you right up front, they are optional. They are optional. They are optional. So these are only suggestions, and it depends upon your speech. The prop draws the audience into the speech, like a good title, hint, hint. You want to make sure it adds to the speech. And I thought it could also be its own little mini speech. Props could be large or small, like a piece of bubble gum or a pencil or a pen. It could be a flower or a rose, as one world champion used about 4 or 5 years ago. It could be an invisible tire that another world champion used a few years ago. It could be a folded sheet of paper, like I tried to give in a speech about my dad that I did not know. It could be a framed picture, it could be a mirror, it could be almost anything. I came up with a suggestion. I would not reveal your prop too early. Depends on the speech and the audience and what it is. You will have to hold it. So you want to make it small enough that you can carry it on your person, because once you get outside of your home, you're not sure what the surroundings will be on stage. So you want it relatively small. But make sure that it's visible within the Zoom window. And as I stated initially, props are optional. Time management. It is not optional. I suggest, and these are all suggestions based on a district speaker or district champion in the evaluation contest in District 77, you should practice your speech enough so that you know what 5 to 7 minutes feels like in your body. Now, it doesn't have to be exact, but you should know 4 minutes from 6 minutes. I call it your internal clock. However, please time all your practice speeches and log them. You may ask, well, why do I want to do that? So you can see your progression. Are you going too far over? Are you too short? Are you hitting your mark? And we'll talk about the mark in just a moment, whatever that mark may be. So I log them and look at them, as I do my next practice. So the real question is, as far as this mark, and only you can answer this, Kaho, will I become emotional or will I go off script? I typically don't get emotional, but I typically go off script. I typically say more in the real speech, the live speech, than I do in practice. So I have to really watch that. This probably will not be the case in this one, because it'll probably be super rehearsed and you won't allow yourself to go off script, but you never know. So therefore, when I practice my 5 to 7s, I always shoot for 6 minutes. So if I go off script, that'll give me 15, 20 seconds to think of, talk about something that I think of in the moment that I had not practiced, because that happens. You can talk about your life in Miami, your life in Hong Kong, and you may think of something that you may recall something that you hadn't thought of in 15 years that's applicable to the speech. So you never know, but it depends on you. I initially audio record myself, and I strongly suggest that. With cell phones nowadays, it's very easy. Just turn it on, record it. It gives you the time. You can listen to or listen for inflection, also known as vocal variety, pace, any filler words, and other items that could be corrected. And also listen for the good stuff. Listen for any humor. Maybe it'll be a spot to add a little humor. See, you're smiling there, and I haven't even said anything funny, and you're already smiling.
Yeah.
So I would start that in like mid-December. In late December, I would start video recording. That way you can see your gestures, you can see your facial reaction. You know, are you serious? Are you happy? Are you enumerating? Eye contact, and you want to be truthful with yourself. You are your own worst critic, so I'm sure you will be giving a very thorough evaluation of yourself. Also, video recording will assist with lighting, presentation area. You know, I'm closer to the screen than you are, so my area is smaller. Well, if I move back, now I have more area. So all those things you'll have to just play with. I'll also allow you to handle your props. Are you going to keep them on your person, or are you going to have them on the table? You just need to practice the way you're going to present it. Oh, you must not go over 7 minutes and 29 seconds, or you will be disqualified.
Okay.
It is better to stop abruptly than to go over smoothly and complete your presentation. You must not go over 7:29. So, and kind of a recap, you can see that there's time management not only for the delivered speech, but also in the journey to the actual presentation. There's things you can do daily, there's things you can do weekly, you know, every other week to build upon your self-confidence and the assurance that you will give a well-honed speech. Go back every 3 weeks or so and confirm that your speech meets strongly the judging points on their form. Also review your evaluations along the way. And last but not least, have fun and enjoy the journey. Back to you, Patty. And lastly, I will send you these 2 documents, so don't worry about taking a lot of notes, which I don't think you did. I'll send you these 2 documents privately.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, Bruce. And so that was very good. Appreciate your time for doing that. Tell me what amount of time can he has to meet a certain time? What is the certain time that he has to meet?
Oh, I should know that. On the minimums, on the underside, I believe it's, I can look it up.
Right. 5 minutes.
Okay, 5. Okay, I didn't think 4:30 was right. Okay, so you only get 30 on the overside, or 20,
so
29.
I brought that up, and my honey know that I can always say things because I never said to be critical. His speech today was going to be 10 minutes, so the timing would have been 8, 9, and 10, and he didn't actually meet 8. So had he been in a contest, he would have been disqualified because he went. Look, Hagen's laughing at you because he would have went under time. So you know, and I think he might have done that.
Hagen doesn't know what that is.
Hey. So it's just as important to not go over the time, 7 minutes, 29 seconds, and to not go under the time. You have a certain objective of time you need to meet and a time that you can't go over. And so I wanted to have some fun with you guys. Thank y'all for that. Y'all are a great group. I appreciate it. Hagen, are you ready to give your speech this evening?
I am definitely. I do understand that it's going to be a new format today, where I'm going to try and do a 5 to 7 minute speech on an impromptu topic. Now, what is the topic going to be tonight, and how do we start?
It's going to be nothing. You're supposed to say, and I'm not speaking today. See, y'all don't even listen. Y'all just going to let him keep going.
I was going to try and bluff my way through.
Going. So Bruce will be doing the timing.
Very good, very good.
What is the time?
The time is going to be 5 to 7 minutes.
Okay.
Kaho, what is the title of your speech today?
I'm still thinking, but for now, maybe I have an idea. Be the bridge. Yeah, okay. That could be the title for now.
So you're introduced on at the area contest, district, division, and etc. It would always be your name, the title of the speech, and your name. So as soon as I say your name the second time, you will be ready to speak. You ready? Kaho Lamb, be the bridge. Be the bridge, Kaho Lamb.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kaho, and I am Chinese, I'm American, and I'm a Hong Konger. But this wasn't always like that. I became who I am through a long self-directed journey in search of my identity. You see, I was born in Hong Kong, but when I was 3 years old, my entire family moved to Florida, Miami, Florida, and that's where I grew up. At that age, I barely remembered my life as a baby growing up in Hong Kong, but I had fond memories of my time in America. It was there that I naturally and fully embraced my identity as an American. As a young Chinese boy living in a foreign country, all I wanted to do is fit in, and that was exactly what I did. I hung out with all my friends, embraced the culture, and through that process, I became an American. There were, though, drawbacks to this, of course. As a child, because I wanted so strongly to fit in and completely embrace the culture that I was surrounded in, I ended up pushing away the culture and traditions that my parents had, because they grew up in Hong Kong, so my Chinese culture for the sake of fitting in. But as a child growing up, that was the least of my worries. In fact, when I found out that when my parents told me when I was a teenager that we would move back to Hong Kong, I was completely petrified. I was terrified at the idea. I felt like the world that I created growing up in Miami with all my friends, it felt like it was crumbling in my very eyes. And it was just a terrible feeling to know that I was gonna lose my friends and start all over again. But the thing is, when I moved to Hong Kong that first time in high school, because I grew up in the US for so long, I had a stubborn determination to keep that identity. And throughout high school and college, it just stuck. Even though I lived in Hong Kong, I was very much proud to be an American there at the time. And when I came back to the US for college in Boston, I felt like I was back home, that, coming back to the US was somewhere where I can easily be comforted, as if I was in my own little bubble. But it wasn't until after graduating and when I started working, something had changed in me. I started noticing more and more that other people similar to me, they're like me in the sense that they are outwardly Chinese, they're Asian, but they grew up in America. In fact, there are 3 generations in the US, and I saw them, and they couldn't speak any Chinese at all, and they could not speak. I mean, they only knew how to speak English, even though they outwardly look Chinese. And I asked to myself, is that the kind of life that I want to present to others going forward? I told myself that it wasn't. In fact, I actually, instead of staying in my comfort zone, I actually wanted to go back home and, experience and I identify another side of who I am, to go back to my roots. And so I made the decision to come back to Asia right after college, to go deep into my roots, to understand where my parents came from. And that journey was a long and difficult journey for me. for one, when I came back to Hong Kong, I had I guess you can say a reverse culture shock, even though I came back the second time, but I was on a mission to try to become more local. And what I did was hang out with more local friends and just try to fit in with other Hong Kongers. But one thing was obvious was there are a lot of difficulties with that because I had my Cantonese wasn't very fluent at the time. So there are a lot of vocabulary and just the local sayings that I didn't really know. And it was harder for me to express myself using Chinese. I felt like I was stuck in, I felt lost at the time because I don't want to become completely completely sheltered with my where I grew up in America, but by venturing out to explore my roots, I felt like an outcast because locals couldn't see me as being one of them, and because of that I just felt lost at that point. But as I continued, I didn't stop, and I continued practicing my Chinese and Cantonese. And over time, I did see improvements. I even went as far as moving to another city in mainland China, a city that was less international compared to Hong Kong, just so I can put myself in an environment where I was forced to speak Chinese all the time in order to pick up the language faster because I had to survive. That being said, after that entire journey, now I'm very proud of who I've become now, even though I wouldn't say that I become 100% local throughout this entire process. Coming back to Asia, I do feel a lot prouder because I have more of a stronger command over the Chinese language. Despite that, when I speak in Chinese, I still speak in Chinese with an American accent, and there's still some vocabulary that I still don't know. I'm still constantly learning. I feel immense pleasure throughout the journey to kind of identify who I am, to kind of take back another side of me that I've kind of pushed out when I was a child. And I came out of this feeling more whole. And I ultimately want to say that throughout the journey, I've also learned to become more accepting of myself. A few years back, I used to kind of be hard on myself because I couldn't fit in, and I struggled really hard with just mastering Chinese and embracing a culture that I want to, be more a part of. But now I realize that, despite not being 100% fluent in Cantonese, despite speaking Chinese with an American accent, there's value in being different and unique in my own way. And throughout the journey, I've become more whole, become more proud of what I've achieved through my time here, and also just become more accepting of who I am as a person. I am now proud to say that I'm 100% Chinese, 100% American, and 100% a Hong Konger. Thank you. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Kaho. We appreciate that. I'm going to ask our timers to give Kaho the time, starting with Bruce. What did you time him at?
I recorded 9:29.
Oof,
And
that's so
Hagen,
far
what did
off.
you record at?
I recorded 9:31.
Okay, and I
I'm
saw
off
that was
by-
a little bit of a disconnect, which is fine because there's like a little second, delay or whatever. Kaho, were you able to see the timing virtual backgrounds? Did you pin your timer?
The thing is, I didn't really pin the timer, so I wasn't able to see it this time.
So you didn't
That's-
see Bruce or Hagen?
No, I couldn't. I was sorry. I was very kind of lost in my thoughts trying, because I definitely need more practice in this, and this is certainly the first draft, but
Right.
I kind of was lost in my own like delivery of the speech. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. So you're gonna give this speech on Wednesday. I know that I will not be in attendance because we have a lot of family coming in town, so I'll be cooking for Thanksgiving Day, which is the following day. But when you give this speech on Wednesday, make sure that you don't go over, because technically speaking, you're not supposed to be able to go forward in a contest if you are
Okay.
disqualified. We've kind of pushed you forward and did it in a backwards mode, but we still need to try to follow the rules as much as possible. So on Wednesday, even if someone does not tell you to pin the timer, you may even want to pin it at the beginning of the meeting to where you can see the timer all the time. And even if you haven't gotten through, because we realize it's kind of in draft form, you just need to come to a smooth closing. So just kind of stop at whatever all the other things you were going to say and close it with that. I'm 100% Chinese. I'm 100% American. I'm 100%, just throw that in as you're closing. So
Mhm.
not to be a hard, but I would hate for you to get to the next levels and your speech is so well-rounded and so good. And the only reason why you get disqualified is because you went over the time.
Okay.
Yes. And so this is the challenge that I want to give to everyone. So in a previous meeting that we had, I gave you all a judging ballot. And what I'm going to ask is that I'm going to send the recording to the group, and sometime this week, and it doesn't have to be before Wednesday, I want you all to give Kaho a grade based on the speech that you saw today, as far as the speech development, his effectiveness, and et cetera, the speech value, those things there. If you want, you can send them all to me, and then I will just make sure that he can't see who sent them and compile them all into one so that he can just have the generic information, because that's the things, Kaho, that will help you to know what it is that you need to work on going forward. Like, do I need to work more on my content? If my effectiveness is 100% good, why am I going to spend a whole lot of time working on my effectiveness? If my delivery is 100% good, why am I going to work on that? I think it'll help you a great deal. But for today, we have about 2 minutes. And so I'm going to go around and ask each person to give Kaho just a little bit of feedback outside of the time. And we already addressed that, of what you saw today. I'll ask Hagen to start, if you don't mind. Just give him some feedback on the speech you heard today.
Sure thing. I'll be very, very quick. Your speech title, Be the Bridge, it is implying a call to action. I was looking to actually see if you were actually going to call us to action in your speech. That was not, that didn't come through to me. You mentioned you were petrified, but we didn't actually get to see or feel petrified like you were. I have a lot of notes on there, and also because of time, you were back in Boston at 3 minutes. You were going back to your roots at 4:45, but you were only moving, you were trying to get in touch with your roots, and you didn't express that you were feeling lost until 6:35, moving to a city in mainland China at 6:50, and you were proud of becoming who you are at 7:20. So those are just key time slots. I've written them down. I'll send them to you directly, as well as some other notes as well. And for the sake of time, I'll just stop myself there.
Thank you, Hagen. We appreciate that. Cindy, what do you have?
I think your speech it could have been, I think it's quite personal, which is good, but then it'd be nice to relate it so that everyone who's listening to your speech I think it's quite personal right now, and I wonder if you can add aspects to it, or we can all relate it back to your speech. Like we can feel a sense of being lonely or not fitting in.
Thank you, Bruce.
Yeah.
My point that I do not have written down, I have given speeches that started out 40 minutes and I had to give it in 20 minutes. Take the script from this speech you just gave and start whittling it down.
Yep.
Listen to the whole speech, then look at the script. Okay, what can I take out? Look at the filler words, start honing it down. It's a lot of work, but you will appreciate it.
Thank
Eddie?
you, Bruce. Dixon.
I will say I would agree with Cindy. And also to me in the beginning, you didn't seem quite comfortable, but toward the end, I think you got a little bit more personable in your description. And what else I wanted to say? When you talked about the traditions that that your parents had that you didn't want to comply with in a sense, I was looking to if you gave like maybe an example of what that is to get a little bit more personal with it. But overall, you seem more comfortable toward the end versus the beginning. And I think that'll just come with more practice and time.
Thank you very much, Vixen. Carmen?
Good first attempt, Carol, in your speech. But I agree with Hagen in that the title, Be the Bridge, is a little bit different from what you have actually said in your speech, because it appears that the emphasis in the speech is about kind of searching your own identity instead of being kind of a bridge. So maybe you may want to include more, say, personal experience. Say, for example, when you say first arrive at Hong Kong from the United States, what was the major difficulties? Say it's language, the most difficult thing, or something else, or the other ways of living. How different is it is from your life in US that you find most difficult to adapt to, say, for example, probably maybe we'll try to think along that line. Or if, say, after your further experience or learning, say, in China, what specific things that you have, say, you have acquired in that which will help you actually acting as a bridge in, say, in whatever you do, for example, in your present job or something else.
Thank you, Carmen.
Thank you.
And I'm going to refer to Hagen again, just very briefly, because I would think that he has probably seen more virtual contests than any of us. I'm just assuming that. On his background, is everyone currently using just a solid background and they're using more props? Or have you seen those that are participating in area area division using a background like I like Kaho's background, but I'm wondering if he's allowed to use a virtual background, or even that may be his home, or even his home background, opposed to just a blank wall. Do you have any knowledge of that?
I would highly recommend a blank background.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's the only thing I've seen, so that's why I asked.
Yeah. In terms of camera positioning, you'd want to be straight on and moving a little bit further back so that you actually allow yourself movement. You were moving a bit, but you were cut off, so we only saw your thumbs. So something to keep in mind. You'll see this in the recording. You definitely want to think about and see if you can set yourself up. In every single contest I've seen, everyone that's gone to area and above, they were all set up in a room where they were standing and were a fair distance away so that they could actually use it as a proper stage. So that's how I would recommend you approach it if you were going to do the same.
Thank you very, very much. And we're at 7:34, so we're slightly over, but I want to give Kaho an opportunity to ask us any questions that he has that we can answer before we end the meeting today, based on what you've heard and so far.
Yeah, thanks for all the feedback, guys. I really appreciate that. I guess my biggest concern with this speech is, yeah, it is. I think Cindy hit it in the nail, because I think I just gave a kind of like a story of, you know, where I came from, but at the same time I feel like it definitely needs work in being relatable, and I want this to kind of captivate the audience. So I wonder if do you guys have any pointers on how I can make it so I kind of strike that balance between keeping the direction of my speech, which I want to, share something that's personal that means something to me, but at the same time, make it more relatable to the audience. Because I'm
Okay,
very
Cindy
aware
has her,
that,
Cindy
yeah,
had
we
her
will
hand
do.
up first and then Bruce.
You need to use more emotions because right now you're kind of just telling us a story and your tone is very monotoned.
Okay,
And
yeah.
you're kind of, you know, it's kind of like you're reading a storybook and there's no emotion to it. So if you added more emotions and kind of maybe a little bit more humor and just had your tonality change, then I think it would help with the emotion and then help us relate to your story.
Okay.
Thank you, Cindy. Bruce?
When you listen to this recording, you need to listen to it 3 different ways. Watch it the way you normally watch it, make your notes. The next time you watch it, turn the video off and just listen to it and make your
Okay.
notes. Then the 3rd time when you watch it, turn the audio off and look at your movies and you'll see what Sydney's talking about. I mean, Hagen was way back here. You could see his torso. He could do this. Try that. Try
Okay.
that. Listen to it 3 different ways. Patty?
And I'll give you a quick example. As you know, in the African-American culture, there are different complexions. We have the light-skinned people, we have maybe a medium tone, then we have dark complected. I, in a sense, was discriminated against by my own people by being light complected. So I was told things like, oh, you must think you're white and things like that. So, for me, I would have to be able to express that, oh my, like that was so hard that people would judge me based on what I look like. I didn't get to decide on what I look like. God created me to be who I am. You see the emotion? Because I took myself back to that place of where I was when I was so distraught and hurt by the fact that they would judge me based on something I had no control over. So you want to draw your audience in, draw us in as to the pain or the anguish or even the anger that you felt during that time that made you like, wow, like this is hurtful. This is heartbreaking. You want to draw us in. And so I just want to kind of give you an example of how you could use emotion for your benefit when you're telling a story. So it doesn't come across just as a story.
Okay. Thanks. Yeah, that's really great. Thanks. I'll use that more. Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
Okay. Go ahead. I think
Uh,
Hagen had something else.
Three quick things.
Yes.
First thing, another one when you're going through all your speech and your notes, what is the relevance of every single part of your story? That's my first question. That's something you want to cut down on, especially in consideration of time. For example, you were talking about how when you were 3 years old, you don't remember anything about Hong Kong. What is the relevance there?
True. Okay.
Just- Just say, I was born in Hong Kong. Before I knew it, I was in America. Grew up in
Yeah.
America. Then you tell that story. Okay. Then
Yeah.
then this is one way you can cut down on part, and this means that it's really nice and snappy as well. 2, when it comes to relevance as well, you want to make everyone relive that experience with you. Most of us here have gone overseas or gone to a very foreign environment where we are by ourselves. That's something you can draw parallel to in terms of your experience first when you first moved to America, and then also when you first came back to Asia. So that's two parts there. And 3rd, I don't remember what the 3rd is, but yeah, those 2 would be good places to start with.
Well,
If
then
I
Hagen brought up a
find
good
that-
point. Listen to the way that
Yeah.
he said, by ourselves. That was like a break in his voice. And so, you have to be able to use the emotion in your actions, in your voice. It's very, 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 very good. And I will be ending this meeting, but I'm going to be having surgery on actually the date of what our next meeting was supposed to be, which was November the 28th.
Okay.
On my wrist and on my elbow for carpal tunnel and cubicle tunnel surgery. So I won't have the use of my right arm/hand for a while. So we will not meet again until the following week, but you all have homework. So the homework is everyone listen to this recording. Everyone send Kaho some individual comments, either to his private chat or either to the group chat. I don't care on which one. And take time to fill out that judge and listen to the recording and fill out the judging form, because it's a little bit different than when you're judging someone just in a regular meeting speech. Kaho, remember your times. You're going to give this speech on Wednesday. Do not go over, even if you have to say that's it.
Okay. Yeah.
Do not go over. Thank you all for continuing to come week after week. I know that it's a commitment, and I really appreciate your commitment and desire to help CAHO, like my desire is to help CAHO. So we will go ahead and end. Thank you. Have a good day. Have a good evening. And I'll see y'all 2 weeks from today on Monday.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
guys.
Take care.
Bye,
You're welcome.
everyone.